Welcome back to a warm embrace, a soft place for the hard parts of being human. Today we're looking at the expectations you place on yourself, the quiet ones that shape your identity without you even noticing. If you've ever felt pressure to live up to a version of yourself you've already outgrown, let's talk about that. Most expectations we carry aren't loud or conscious. They live in thoughts like, I should know better, I should be further along, I shouldn't still struggle with this, I'm however many years old, I shouldn't still be figuring X, Y, and Z out. These expectations become invisible cages. I know mine did. And I realized that I was the one holding the key. These expectations quietly shape how we see ourselves, and it's not always a good view. But life doesn't unfold in linear timelines. It's never a straight line. It has ups and downs and twists and turns you never expected. There's a reason why life is often compared to a roller coaster. And it's important to remember that you're allowed to be a beginner at any age. Sometimes the heaviest expectations are the ones we never consciously chose. Changing doesn't mean you're betraying yourself. Growth naturally changes who you are. That's what growing means for us as humans. But letting go of an old version of you doesn't mean that you were pretending before. It simply means you're evolving with new awareness. I was worried that changing would mean losing the parts of me that I did like, the good parts, the parts I actually wanted to keep. And I wondered if I would recognize who I would become. But I didn't lose anything good. Those parts are still there, stronger than they were before. Because those were the parts shaped by my truth, not by my trauma. You're not being inconsistent. You're being honest about who you are now. And it's okay if that person is different to who you were before. Expecting more than you're capable of doesn't create growth. It creates a chasm where dark thoughts grow. And if we're not careful, they can consume us. Unrealistic expectations create self-doubt, shame, exhaustion. But capacity changes, sometimes daily, depending on mental health, life circumstances, healing, energy. Capacity isn't a moral failure. It's a reality. Expecting overnight change is unkind. Growth is gradual, not instant. Expecting yourself to be better now ignores the process, and that's often where the lessons lie. Kindness doesn't mean lowered standards. It simply means having realistic expectations of yourself. Stop expecting perfection from yourself. Perfection is often a mask we wear because we're afraid of being seen for what we really are, which is an imperfect human. Often we neglect to give ourselves the kindness we so readily afford others. But gentler expectations don't make you weaker. They make your growth sustainable. Many of us live inside expectations shaped by past trauma, survival patterns, and who we needed to be once. Healing often means we no longer fit that box. Letting go of it can bring guilt, not relief. It can often make you feel guilty for letting people see a version of you you may tell yourself wasn't real to begin with. But it was you. It was just the you that existed before. Outgrowing survival versions of yourself can feel confusing, even when it's healthy. But staying true to yourself does not mean staying the same. Comparison can also often distort our views. Shaping expectations based on where others are leads to self-loathing. Different people have different timelines, support systems, different capacities. Comparing your progress to theirs ignores context. Context you don't have about their situation, and context they don't have about yours. Comparison quietly drains our joy before we even notice it, and most times, we don't even realize we're doing it. It's important to remember you're not behind. You're just on your own path. Expecting less of yourself can be an act of self-respect. Expecting less doesn't mean that you're giving up. It means that you're acknowledging reality, you are honoring your limits, and you're choosing compassion. It's one of the clearest ways to show yourself kindness. Sometimes the most respectful thing you can do is to stop asking yourself for more than you can give. Often disappointing others can make us feel like a failure, but that's an unfair conclusion. People's disappointment often reflects unmet projections or outdated expectations. It doesn't define your worth. When I started to change, I worried how the people in my life would feel about that. I wondered if we would still be able to relate to each other, or if they would reject the version I had become. And that can be a scary thought, even if the version you've become is better for you. But I realize that more often than not, the people who are disappointed by the version you've become are the ones who used to benefit from the version you were. Who you're allowed to be is not determined by who others expected you to remain. Sometimes we need to stop and ask ourselves, are these expectations I'm placing on myself helping or hurting my progress? You don't owe anyone, including yourself, a version of you that no longer fits. Thank you for listening to A Warm Embrace. Take what lands, leave what doesn't, and be kind to yourself today. I'll see you next week.